revolution in terms of your capacity to revitalise that landscape, to hold back sea level rise, to really manage that whole biosystem. Okay, so these opportunities, in a sense, physically, scientifically, we can go through all the details and stuff like that, all there. Nepal, it's actually a little bit harder because you're obviously in a very, very unstable mountainous terrain, but the same thing applies in a way. You see, because you've got to build resilience, you've got to build forests, you've got to build the retention of that soil, that water across that landscape, and you've got to look after people. You've got to have people feeding. But again, 100 square metres of healthy soil, and you've got stability. And you're, again, enormously empowered to do that. Okay, so the whole point is this re-greening, rebuilding the resilience of our soils and landscape from that grassroots community, square metre by square metre, hectare by hectare, is fundamental. And in a sense, the UN in Paris, from my understanding, in December, will give that empowerment through zero net carbon emissions 2050. And if the global community plays it right, that will be driving demand for a global carbon price, because obviously if everybody's working on net, they want that on the balance sheet in dollars. So it's a question of how do we actually practically and politically get into this new mind space, because we still have politicians that are talking about token 5% emission reductions sometime in the never if they happen. And of course it's completely, irresponsible, just unintelligible, right? And so how do we get that change? How do we catalyse that change? How do groups like BEN, Healthy Soils Australia, climate action groups around the say, no, it's communities, it's people, it's farms, it's villages, how do we rebuild this? And I think that's the debate that I think we'd like to take forward. But look, I'll leave it there at the moment. There's a lot of details. I mean, perhaps just as an example, let's say, hey, this is impossible, this is pie in the sky. I'll just take you back to people in Holland. Right? Holland, a little country, smaller than Bangladesh, miserable climate, cold and wet and horrible. And they're living at the, I shouldn't say arse end of the Rhine Delta, right? And they get toxic chemical sludge down that delta. And for 400 years they've been taking that toxic sludge, the marine, saline, toxic sludge, and regenerating that sludge, and within 10 years they create polders and organic, healthy soils that are some of the most productive, profitable soils globally. Netherlands, basically, per head of population, per head of area, or per unit area, is exporting more food and makes more money out of its agriculture than Australia does. Okay? And that's all by regenerating their soils and their landscapes, turning toxic, saline sludge within 10 years into some of the most bioproductive soils on this planet. And if they can do it, Bangladesh can do it.
Good. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.